Hello, hello! Maayong adlaw! Today we're going to discuss factoring a perfect square trinomial. So let us start with the first question. What happens when you square a binomial x plus 3 squared? So what will be the product if you are going to square x plus 3? So that is x plus 3 times x plus 3. So that is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 9. Or if we are going to use the FOIL method, x plus 3 times x plus 3. So x times x is x squared. Then we have 3 times x is 3x. Then x times 3, we have also 3x. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So combining similar terms, 3x plus 3x is equal to 6x. So the answer becomes x squared plus 6x plus 9. Do you know how to factor a perfect square trinomial? A perfect square trinomial is in the form of a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So from the word trinomial, we have three terms. A squared, 2ab, and then b squared. Take note, the first term and the last terms are perfect squares. So using the given x squared plus 6x plus 9, so we have x squared, the first term, is equal to x times x. So that is a perfect square. Then 9 is equal to 3 times 3. That is also a perfect square. So in this case, the first term and the last term, which are x squared and 9, are perfect squares. The middle term, which is 6x, positive 6x, is twice the product of the square root of the first and last terms. So 6x is equal to twice. When we say twice, so we are going to multiply it by 2. So we have 2 times the square root of the first term, x squared, and the square root of the last term, 9. So 2 times the square root of x squared times the square root of 9. So we all know that the square root of x squared is x, because x times x is equal to x squared. And the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So we have 2 times x times 3. Okay, so since we already know a perfect square trinomial, so let us start factoring a perfect square trinomial. We are going to use our example, x squared plus 6x plus 9. So kani ang atong gamiton nga example, because this is a perfect square trinomial. So first step, unang buhaton. Get the square root of the first term and the last term. So, unsa man ang atong first term? Our first term is x squared. So, get the square root of x squared. We all know that the square root of x squared is x, because x times x is x squared. And then, get the square root of the last term. Our last term is 9. So, the square root of 9, kasayon kaayo, that is equal to 3. Nganong 3? Because 3 times 3 is equal to 9. Okay. So, ayaw kalimot, ana. Number 2 step. List down the square root as sum or difference of two terms as the case may be. So, as the case may be, depende sa case. So, unsa man nga case? So, we are going to look for the sign of the middle term. So, since ang sign sa middle term diri is positive, so we're going to use sum of two terms. So, we have x plus 3 squared or pwede nato siyang sulatog tinag-as x plus 3 times x plus 3. This is the expanded form of x plus 3 squared. Okay, let us try to factor y squared minus 16y plus 64. But before we're going to factor this, we are going to determine first whether this given polynomial is a perfect square trinomial. So does this fit the form of our perfect square trinomial? Perfect square trinomial ka ani siya? Number 1. Is the first term a perfect square? Perfect square ba ang y squared? Yes, y squared is equal to y times y. Number 2. Is the last term a perfect square? Perfect square ba ang positive 64? Yes, 64 is equal to 8 times 8. So, perfect square na ang first term, perfect square na ang last term. Ang kulang na lang ang middle term. Is the middle term twice the product of the square root of y squared and 64? So, ug twice gani, unsa ganito'y buhaton? We are going to multiply it by 2. Ang product sa square root ni y squared o sa square root ni 64. So, yes, 2 times y times 8. So, asa gikan si y og 8? So, y comes from y squared. The square root of y squared is y. And the square root of 64 is 8. So, 2 times y times 8 equals 16y. So, ang atong given can be considered a perfect square trinomial. Since all three are true, correct tanan ang tulo ka kondisyon, then write your answer. So what will be your answer? Okay? So first, get the square root of the first term. The square root of y squared is y. And then get the square root of the last term. The square root of 64 is 8. Then copy the sign of the middle term, which is negative. So our answer will be y minus 8 squared, or it can be written as y minus 8 times y minus 8. Our final example, the last example, number 2, factor m squared minus 12m plus 36. Before ato siyang i-factor, we are going to determine ato siyang ila-ilahon kung perfect square trinomial ba siya. So, kung perfect square trinomial siya, dapat mo follow siya sa tulo ka condition. Ang unang condition is the first term a perfect square. So, the answer is yes. M squared is equal to m times m. Correct na ang first condition. Second condition, is the last term a perfect square? Yes, of course, perfect square. Kay ang 36 is equal to 6 times 6. Ug ang last na condition is the middle term twice the product of the square root of m squared and 36? Yes, the square root of m squared is m. The square root of 36 is 6. So twice, that is 2 times. 2 times m times 6 is equal to 12m. Yehey! Therefore, ang atong given nga m squared minus 12m plus 36 is a perfect square trinomial. So, unsay answer ani ug ato siyang i-factor? Ang answer kay m minus 6 squared. Giunsaan pagkuha ang m minus 6 squared? So, get the square root of first term, which is m squared. Ang square root niya kay m. Get the square root of the last term, 36. Ang yang square root is 6. Kopyaon ang sign ni middle term, which is negative. So we can have the answer as m minus 6 squared, or in expanded form, it will be m minus 6 times m minus 6. Okay? So nakuha ninyo unsaon pag-factor ang perfect square trinomial? Yes. So to summarize, para mag-factor ta sa perfect square trinomial, kinahanglan ila-ilahon nato. We are going to determine if the given is a perfect square trinomial. So unang condition, perfect square ba ang first term? Ikaduhang condition, perfect square ba ang last term? Ug ang ikatulong nga condition, it should be twice the product of the square root ni first term o ni square root ni last term. So, kung puros yes ang answer sa tulo ka condition, then we can factor it using factoring by perfect square trinomial. Sayun ra kayang pag-factor, get the square root of the first term, m squared, the square root is m, get the square root of the last term, 36, the square root of 36 is 6, kopyaon ang sign ni middle term, negative, so that is m minus 6 squared. These are the factors of m squared minus 12m plus 36.